And what credit then goes to Michael Carrick? Because it does, in the last 2 weeks, look like a team transformed.
Yeah, it does. And they're produced.
I spent 600 minutes watching Michael Carrick's Manchester United. And we seriously need to talk about his tactics because this isn't normal.
They get that, they've got momentum now into their season, and all of a sudden you're looking at United and you're thinking, great chance of top 4. 1 or 2 months ago you're saying, no, I don't think they'll do it. But now if they play with that confidence and belief, then you give the manager credit, you give his staff credit, and the players are turning up.
A few months ago, the serious discussions around this club weren't about finishing in the top 3. They were about structural chaos, a drifting identity, recruitment confusion, and whether Manchester United were sliding toward a season focused on survival rather than ambition. Now, United sit 3rd in the Premier League table. 7 games unbeaten under Carrick, 6 wins and 1 draw. A comeback victory against Crystal Palace that felt controlled rather than desperate. Benjamin Zacco is suddenly finishing with conviction. Bruno Fernandes is back to creating relentlessly. Kobbie Mainoo is dictating the tempo like a seasoned veteran. Harry Maguire looks composed. Matheus Cunha is operating intelligently between the lines. The wide players are rotating with clear purpose. This isn't just a new manager bounce.
That is what Manchester United is supposed to look like. Unbelievable from minute 1 right through to minute 96 or 97, whatever it was.
When you sit down and watch 600 uninterrupted minutes, phase by phase, build up by build up, pressing trigger by pressing trigger, the patterns become impossible to ignore. A clear 4-2-3-1 foundation that smoothly morphs in possession. A compact mid-block that relies on timed pressure instead of emotional chasing. And then the bigger realization hits. This isn't only about results. It's about a former midfield controller now coaching with the same calm authority he once showed on the pitch. So the real question isn't whether Michael Carrick is doing well. The real question is what exactly he has changed structurally, tactically, and psychologically to take a team many predicted would struggle and turn them into one that suddenly looks comfortable in the top 3. This is how Carrick is rebuilding Manchester United and why his tactical work might be one of the most important stories of the season. The simplest truth in football is this: the league table has no sympathy for excuses. When Carrick walked through the door, United weren't just underperforming, they were completely lost. The campaign had unraveled. There was no clear direction, no stable identity. Then came another harsh reset. Ruben Amorim was sacked on January 5, 2026, the day after a dull 1-1 draw with Leeds. By the time Carrick was confirmed as interim manager until the end of the season, United sat 7th, already out of both domestic cups and a staggering 17 points behind the league leaders. That's not a title push, that's a club drifting. And then something shifted. Fast forward to March 2026. Manchester United are unbeaten in 7 under Carrick, 6 wins and 1 draw. A comeback win over Crystal Palace lifts them into the top 3. 51 points from 28 matches, their first appearance in the top 3 since May 2023. What analysts immediately noticed about Carrick's United is how he made the complex feel simple again. It's not for style points, but to give players genuine clarity. 2 center-backs focused on defending. A disciplined double pivot protecting the space in front. A true number 10 orchestrating attacks. Wingers free to advance without exposing the team behind them. That alone felt revolutionary compared to what came before. Because a huge part of elite coaching is simply removing chaos. In possession, the structure subtly transforms into a 3-2 to build up. 1 fullback tucks inside, the pivot holds position, and suddenly United have a stable platform to play through pressure instead of rushing through it. The passing angles improve. The circulation becomes safer. Most importantly, the team is already prepared defensively before possession is lost. That's Carrick the midfielder speaking. a player who mastered tempo at the highest level and is now teaching it from the touchline. Calm before chaos. Out of possession, the press is measured, not manic. United don't hunt the ball recklessly. They wait for the right trigger, an opponent receiving with their back to goal, a heavy touch. The ball forced toward the touchline, and then they strike. That's why even when they concede early, like Crystal Palace scoring in the 4th minute, the team doesn't fall apart. The structure stays intact. The composure never disappears, and perhaps the biggest transformation of all. United defend collectively again. Compact, disciplined. No desperate overcommitting. It's controlled aggression, not panic. 3rd place. Looks impressive, but that still isn't the real story. The real story is this. Carrick inherited a squad that looked broken, tactically muddled, and mentally fragile, and made them predictable. And that is meant as the highest possible praise. Predictable shape, predictable roles, a predictable response when they fall behind. That's how results stop feeling random and start becoming repeatable. Which leads to the deeper question. What exactly is Carrick constructing inside this system? And why are key players suddenly performing like they belong to a completely different side? When you properly study Carrick's United, not just highlight clips, but long, uninterrupted phases of play, one thing becomes clear. The players haven't suddenly transformed overnight. They're finally being used in roles that make sense. And when a player's job is clear, confidence stops coming from speeches. It comes from structure and repetition. The most obvious shift is in how Zacco is deployed. Carrick has stopped isolating him against center-backs and instead built the attacking framework around his strengths. Deliveries arrive earlier. Support runners are closer. Set-piece involvement has increased. The output reflects it. 7 goals in 8 appearances by March 1st, including 3 straight matches on the score sheet. In the comeback against Palace, he scores the winner, his 4th goal in 5 games. His finishing now feels inevitable rather than fortunate for a simple reason. United's attack arrives with him. Bruno operates in closer proximity, manipulates defenders into uncomfortable positions. The right side delivers earlier service. And because the team is structurally sound behind the ball, attacks come in sustained waves. This isn't merely a striker finding form, it's a striker finally being properly supplied. Bruno's resurgence under Carrick comes down to positioning. He's no longer being dragged deep to patch structural problems. Instead, he operates as the high connector near the penalty area, influencing the moments that decide matches. Against Palace, he converts the comeback penalty and provides the assist for the winner, delivering a dead ball into exactly the space the striker attacks. That's what clarity and role design looks like. Carrick's commitment to the Casemiro menu. Double pivot is another cornerstone of United's improvement. The responsibilities are clean and complementary. Casemiro screens first and steps forward second, shielding central transitions so the center-backs aren't constantly exposed. Mainu receives under pressure, links phases, and progresses possession. He's the stabilizer, the player who keeps messy moments from turning into full-blown crises. That midfield triangle of Casemiro, Manu, and Bruno finally gives United something they lacked earlier in the campaign: a midfield foundation you can trust. When observers say Maguire looks like a different player, the reality is simpler. The team is finally defending in a way that supports him. United no longer commit both fullbacks forward simultaneously. The pivot blocks central counter lanes. The defensive line stays compact and connected. Maguire is no longer stranded in huge defensive spaces. Protect the structure around a center-back, and his level stabilizes accordingly. Kanha's function is more subtle but extremely important. He constantly alternates between drifting inside to overload the number 10 zone and pulling wide to isolate defenders one-on-one. Against Palace, he provides the pivotal moment, winning the foul that leads to the penalty and red card. That's classic between-the-lines manipulation. Receive in a dangerous pocket, force hesitation, and punish it. United's right flank has quietly become their most consistent, attacking channel because it never behaves predictably. With Mbeumo holding with, Dalot supporting from behind, and Bruno close enough to combine, United regularly create 3 simultaneous threats. When Ahmed features, the same structural template produces a different profile. More direct dribbling, more verticality, but still within Carrick's framework. The Crystal Palace match remains the clearest example. United concede in the 4th minute, yet there's no emotional collapse. They reset, maintain structure, and execute. The comeback 2-1 victory comes through controlled pressure and precise set-piece execution. That isn't fortune. That's structure. Carrick's players don't look surprised when they fall behind because they already understand exactly what comes next. So why Carrick? Manchester United have gone down the someone who knows the club road before. After Amerum's departure, both Carrick and Solskjaer were approached as interim options. That instinct has always lingered at Old Trafford. But what separates Carrick from others in that space is significant. Most former United managers usually fall into one of 2 profiles. The personality-first leader who energizes the dressing room through emotion and connection, or the standards-first figure who imposes control through intensity and authority. Carrick fits neither category. He represents something rarer, a midfielder's coaching brain. Even as a player, he never led through volume or theatrics. He led through solutions, positioning, tempo control, smart switches, and managing the next phase before it arrived. That same mindset defines his coaching today. Highly tactical, never dramatic. He isn't trying to spark Manchester United emotionally. He's trying to organize them structurally. And when a talented squad is properly organized, elite players don't need speeches, they simply start delivering. For years, the real debate around United hasn't only been about results, it's been about identity. Supporters have watched the same frustrating loop repeat. Expensive signings that never quite fit, managers forcing mismatched systems. Brief flashes of brilliance followed by structural collapse. The frustration wasn't just about losing. It was about not recognizing what Manchester United actually were anymore. Under Carrick, that uncertainty is beginning to fade, and it's happening through alignment, not noise. Xhaka is now operating inside the penalty area instead of drifting wide in search of touches. Cunha is intelligently rotating between the lines rather than being isolated. Mainu is linking phases instead of being overwhelmed by responsibility. Casemiro is protecting transitions exactly as a holding midfielder should. The fullbacks are no longer both flying forward recklessly. One advances while the other secures. That structure working for the players, not against them. United once looked like a group of talented individuals sharing a jersey. Now, they resemble a connected team. The clearest evidence is how they react when adversity hits. They concede early and there's no panic, no blame. They reset, compress the shape, and trust the process. That's identity, compact without the ball, controlled in build-up, aggressive at the right moments, disciplined when it matters most. The table reflects improvement. The structure shows clear intent. The standards finally appear to be returning, and if those 3 elements continue to align, this won't be remembered as a short-term bounce.